Hi, this is Madhavi. In this today's session, we are going to learn about Azure Data Factory, introduction to Azure Data Factory, and some important topics in Azure. Let's get started with the introduction to Azure Data Factory. ADF is a data pipeline and a ETL tool that is a part of the Microsoft Azure cloud ecosystem. ADF can pull data from the outside world like Amazon, S3, Oracle, and many more and transform it, filter it, and enhance it and move it along to another destination. Getting ADF to do real work for you involves the following layers of technology instead from the highest level of abstraction that you interact with the down to software closest to the data. Pipeline, the graphical user interface where you place widgets and grab data paths. Activity, a graphical widget that does something to your data. Source and link, the parts of an activity that specify where data is coming from and going to. Data set, an explicitly defined set of data that ADF can operate on. Linked services, the connection information that allows ADF to access a specific outside data resource. Integration runtime, a gateway layer or glue that lets ADF talk to software outside of itself. Let's start with integration runtime. An integration runtime provides the gateway between ADF and the actual data or compute resources you need. If you are using ADF to marshal native Azure resources such as an Azure Data Lake or Databricks, then ADF knows how to talk to those resources. Just use the built-in integration runtime and don't think about it. No setup or configuration required. But suppose you want ADF to operate on data that is stored on an Oracle database server under your desk or computer and data within your company private network. In these cases, you must set up the gateway with a self-hosted integration runtime. Linked services. Linked services tells ADF how to see the particular data or computer you want to operate on. To access a specific Azure storage account, you create a linked services for it and include access credentials. To read or write another storage account, you create another linked service. To allow ADF to operate on an Azure SQL database, your linked services will state the Azure subscription, server name, database name, and credentials. The next one, dataset. A dataset makes a link services more specific. It describes the folder you're using within a storage container or the table within a database, etc. The dataset in the below image points to one directory in one container in one Azure storage account. The container and the directory names are set in the parameters tab. Note how the dataset references a linked services. Also, that is data set specifies the data is shipped which allows ADF to automatically unzip the data as you read it. Source and sink. A source and sink are, as the names imply, places data comes from and goes to. Source and sinks are built on data sets. ADF is mostly concerned with moving data from one place to another, often with some kind of transformation along the way. So it needs to know where the data to move. It is important to understand that there is a mushy distinction between datasets and source links. A dataset defines a particular collection of data, but a source or sink can redefine the collection. Activities are the GUI widgets within the data factory that do specific kinds of data movement or transformation. There is a copy data activity to move data or for each activity to loop over the file list. A filter activity that chooses a subset or files, etc. Most activities have a source and a sink. An ADF pipeline is a top level concept that you work with most directly. Pipelines are composed of activities and data flow arrows. You program ADF by creating pipelines. You get work done by running pipelines, either manually or via automatic triggers. You look at the result of your work by monitoring pipeline execution. The pipeline takes inbound data from an initial data lake folder, moves it to cloud Azure storage, get a list of the files, loops over each file, copy those files to an unzipped working folder, then applies an additional filter by the file type. Thank you for watching.